This episode is brought to you by Jersey Mike's. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Another episode of Points in the Paint. It's our podcast directed and really just meant to be all about women's basketball in the West Coast Conference. Ann Schatz, Mary Murphy, coming at you with yet another scintillating episode. Mare, how are you?
I'm great. It's great to be home after a long weekend in Pullman doing a bunch of games, but we had a blast and we made it home through the snow and the ice and the fog. So it's just great to be home.
It was really fun to be with you in Pullman. And that's a great little town. And boy, I'll tell you, when it comes to basketball, I know football is a different beast, but when it comes to basketball, those folks know and love their basketball.
Yeah, I mean, we had a great time. We covered the women 2 games, and one they lost to Santa Clara and one they won. Did a men's game, and it was a blast. The whole weekend was a lot of fun.
It was great. Great to be with you too. And speaking of Washington State, we're going to start with our quick hitters, and we're going to start with the Cougs. Number 3 in the U.S. in blocks per game. They come at you in waves, and there are 4, 5, 6 players that will get into that category every game.
Yeah, I think it's really something to say that when you're third in something and there's 362 teams playing Division I women's basketball, you're doing something special. And they certainly, when you talk about rim protection, they do an absolutely outstanding job of it. You just better find a way. And a team that found a way was certainly Santa Clara, because only one block shot in that game and the Broncos come away with the win. So they figured it out. You might want to watch that tape and help them for you to figure it out.
Because normally it's 7 blocks per game. And again,
Yeah.
it's down low. It's anywhere near that point area.
That's exactly right. So they're a lot of fun to watch just defensively with what they're able to do as far as block shots.
All right, let's go to old school. And we got to go with Yvonne Ejim, that superstar for Gonzaga that scores a lot of points. And in conference play, all deuces.
Yeah, I mean, it is certainly old school because she's not racking up extra points by shooting threes. It's just so far in this conference year, it's been all twos and free throws. And in Ejim, you've got a superstar who broke the 2000 career point playing for the great program up in Spokane, Gonzaga. And we know she's just going to keep piling up the points. I mean, she's averaging over 20 points per game. And what a season she's having. And this is a team that when we were talking a week ago, we're 2-2. They're now 4-2. And here come the Zags.
No kidding. 59 straight double-figure games for that young woman. And when the dust settles, she will be their number 1 career point scorer and rebounder. All right. Dropping dimes, Mary Murphy. And we've got a ton of guards in this conference that know how to assist. St. Mary's, Zariah Alcuso, reigning freshman of the year, in conference 6.6 assists per game. That is number 1 in WCC play. Injure early and now rocking and rolling.
Yeah, I mean, you just keep running down the list, Dan. I know we've got a couple more we want to talk about, and the numbers are incredible, all over 6 a game.
Crazy. Loyola Marymount, Nadia Evans, 5'6" grad guard out of Grand Canyon, averages 6 assists per game in conference play. She is number 2 in the WCC in assists, just had a career high 12 assists earlier this season, not in conference play, but you get the idea. And then USF's Luana Leite from Brazil, 5'7" guard, 2 double-digit assist games already, number 3 in conference play in assists. And here's what I love about her, and you will too, Mare. She averages those 6 dimes a game in WCC play, only 8 total turnovers in conference play.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the strengths of this conference. You go to any team and they really have a leader in the backcourt, and it's a fun position in this conference. And I think that's something we're going to be talking about every week.
All right. In case you missed it, not paying attention category, this past Thursday, epic stuff. The rivalry continued in the Rose City. Gonzaga winning on the road at Portland, 76-71, setting the table for their weekend.
Yeah, I mean, the Zags led by 1 with 26 seconds to go. Portland's got to start fouling, and their great freshman, Allie Turner, steps up and hits a couple. Ejim hits a couple. And the way you win close games is make free throws at the end. And when they survive that one, 76-71. And then, we came into this weekend with 3 unbeaten teams. We are here today with just 1 unbeaten. And USF in a battle of the unbeatens against St. Mary's. They just came out and rolled 87-73. They led for 38 of the 40 minutes, and this is a USF team that we're gonna talk about a little bit later, but boy, they are just playing as good as they have played since 95, 96, which is a long time ago, and, it's gonna be a great topic in our B block.
Stunning stat of the week.
I
Mikkel
love
Meek.
this.
Are you even human, Mikkel Meek? Uh, Against Saturday, 11 dimes, a career high, 0 turnovers. Never more than 1 turnover in a conference game, Mary Murphy, and number 1 in the country, overall in the country in assist to turnover ratio.
Yeah, I mean, when you go to the NCAA website and you see her name at the top, so she's at 4.87 with her assist to turnover, which is just amazing. But know that this is a team number, right? Because it takes people catching the ball and finishing shots to get those kind of numbers. And in conference play, she's at 10.3 assist to turnover. I mean, it's an ungodly number, but number 1 in the country. Tip your caps, celebrate that. That is an awesome number.
Let's talk about Alex Koval.
About it.
Well, I mean, she was perfect in one game this weekend and just was unstoppable for Washington State.
Yeah, in conference play, she is shooting 80% from the floor. She's 22 of 28. She simply doesn't miss. Back in the starting rotation, they're doing a great job of getting her the ball inside. But boy, she has been so valuable. You just talk about the step up from a freshman year to a sophomore year out of Missoula, Montana. She's just been putting on a show. She looks terrific on the floor.
Her sidekick, Tara Wallach, had herself a weekend too and is rocking and rolling in conference play.
Yeah, 13 offensive rebounds in the 2 games this weekend. I mean, if there was a missed shot, there was Tara Wallach. I mean, she was just all over the offensive boards. 13 in 2 games, quite a number.
Freya Worth from USF, what she is doing at the free throw line, that blows me away too.
Yeah, I mean, basically, she doesn't miss. I mean, she just steps up and just has just a great routine and just continues to knock them down. And we talk about stunning stats. These aren't like, oh, that's interesting. These aren't interesting stats. These are stunning numbers that these women are putting up.
Worth, I just want to give you a little context here. She's 21 of 22 in conference play. Overall, she's 43 for 44. She has missed 1 free throw. That was against LMU. She's number 2 in the country in free throw percentage. And I know we get all jacked up about buckets, but man, if you get to the line, and she's getting to the line, and you make hay like that, oh, are you helping the cause?
Yeah, you're exactly right. And the second part of that is you can be a great free throw shooter, but if you don't do all the work and create the contact and just be rugged enough to get yourself to the free throw line, you're not going to have that kind of number. And it's just impressive. And it really goes to show you one of the reasons why USF sits undefeated in conference play.
We are early in WCC play, Mayor. We got a long way to go. And yet we are seeing some individual and team performances that already stand alone.
Yeah, and I just want to acknowledge Pepperdine's first-year head coach, Katie Faulkner, got her very first WCC win this past weekend, and she's going to have many more. She and her staff, I'm really excited what they're building down there, Pepperdine.
Glad you brought that up. One of many, to your point. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back with a really special guest, really fun interview. So stick around. We'll be back in just a second. Welcome back to Points in the Paint. As promised, a really exciting and fun interview coming your way. We're going to talk about USF and their superstar. They've got a bunch of them, but Debora dos Santos. But before we get to that, Mayor, you've been crunching numbers, and I know you're into analytics, and me too. But the difference between USF non-conference and what they're doing now in conference is crazy.
Yeah, but it's even more than that. If you look at USF's season, they went through a spell in November and early December. They lost 5 straight, and now they've won 6 straight, including right before conference start, they beat Arizona State. So you say, well, what changed? Why did this happen? And really, the defense has stayed pretty much the same, but it's all in the offensive end. I mean, they're scoring 14 more points a game. They're scoring 77 points a game. Field goal percentage goes from 38 to 45. 3-point from 29 to 37. And their threes are like +3 made threes a game. And their turnovers, just a tremendous improvement. So there's tangible reasons why this team, defensively you're the same, and all of a sudden you just start scoring a whole bunch more points. You just are a much more competitive team, a team that can go out there and win every conference game by double digits. So it's the best start they've had since 1995. My nest, not great, but that's a long time. And there's a reason we're highlighting this team is they sit atop the WCC. I think they were picked sixth preseason. No one saw this coming, and here we are. And that's what's so fun about this season.
I have a feeling that our guest, Debora dos Santos, one of the greats out of Brazil, the redshirt senior forward, I have a feeling, Debora, that you made sure that your team stayed in it and said better days were ahead. Welcome to the show and help us understand in the locker room, on the court, what changed for your club?
Hi. So definitely, I think it was the mindset. I think from the beginning we always thought that we had like a deeper bench this year. Sadly, last year we had a lot of injuries, so we only had like a couple, like less people. But this year we came this year thinking, okay, we have everybody back. Let's do it. We started a little bit rough, but definitely after I believe it was when we started playing against ASU, we
Mhm.
definitely changed our mindset. And since conference started, we still keeping that, because we knew we had a lot of different pieces on our team that we could use to actually play the game that we know we can play. So definitely the mindset change.
Deb, your journey from Rio de Janeiro and the basketball opportunities maybe not what you wanted it to be, and you come to America and you go to Utah to finish high school, and just can you just fill us in on your journey to how you got to where you are today?
I mean, definitely first, God has been blessing me so far. And I mean, it was of course, talking. And I know Utah is like a different place to go comparing to Rio, but at the moment it was one of the only opportunities that I had to come here to the US. First, I was in Colorado with the AU team, and then I went to Utah to finish my high school. But before I even came, I was kind of still figuring out what I would do. I was just like, I need to come here. Like, I know it's like a better place where I'm gonna be able to develop my game. And my mom, my dad, my brother, all my family always support me, and they were like, you gotta do what you gotta do. And since the beginning, it was like always like figuring out what I'm gonna do next. And then I went to first Colorado, then Utah, then Texas, and then I ended up over here at San Francisco. But I mean, God has been opening the doors for me, and I of course thank Him a lot, and of course all the people, all the coaches, Coach Annie from Brazil, Coach Keith Van Horn from the AU team, of course Coach Lizzie, Coach Arabet that were in my junior college. They were all like a great support for me too. And whatever support I needed, they were always there for me. Yeah. So
You endured some injuries at USF. You missed a whole season with an injury, ACL. You missed a bunch of months, a couple of months ago or a couple of years ago. And then last year you exploded. First team all WCC. It just feels like the joy is back in playing for you.
yeah, I mean, injuries are always so tough going through it, especially my first ever like really serious injury was my ACL. Right in my first year was the first practice. And of course, it put me a little bit down. So when I was coming back, I remember the coaches were telling me that I was so excited. I was really jumping on my own space. And I feel like every time, even when with just my hands, I was just thinking like, oh my God, Buck, like, can I play now? So I mean, it's always tough to go through it, but coming back, I feel like it's one of the best kind of emotions to feel because you're really like excited to be back. So
Sure. Wonderful.
Deb, I was watching some YouTube videos of you and your teammates doing some interviews, and You guys got some fire and some passion, and you just seem like you have a lot of fun. What's that energy like with some of your teammates?
Oh my God, it's just awesome. I feel like
I mean, you guys get me going.
Yeah. Energy, baby.
no, definitely. I mean, I feel like it's especially because of our backgrounds. Like we all kind of international people. Even the Americans that we have here are kind of half American, half somebody somewhere else. So I feel like because we are really far away from home, like from our family, we always understand really well each other and know what each person is going through, you know? So we can like have this different bond, you know? So I mean, it's just like a really like second family for everybody, you know?
And you open up conference play with a 15-point victory over Gonzaga. Like, you've been around long enough to know, like, Gonzaga didn't lose the game all of last year. So that game ends. What's going through your mind, your teammates' mind? What was the locker room like?
Oh my God, we were definitely happy. But even before the game, our coach was already telling us like, we are like because we were like you guys mentioned before, we were like on a straight streak of losing games, you know. And she was like, you know, this is preseason, that's okay, but let's just learn from it and be ready for our conference games, you know, because that's what's gonna matter. So I believe like we were trying to take it the best out of the preseason. So when season started, we were like, okay, let's do it. You know, like I can't stand losing anymore. We gotta get this W. And it is like let's do whatever it needs. And that's how it was. Like it was
And
a
that's
really
how it
good
is.
game. Yes.
You haven't lost. You haven't lost in conference play, Deb. Come on now.
I feel like we feel really happy and now we just need to keep the same mindset, keep the same game that we know we can play. Like now we've seen it that we are able to actually play good games and win them, you know? So yeah.
You mentioned that there's a pride in representing your country every time you step onto the floor. More and more Brazilians are coming over to this country playing basketball, but why is that so important to you?
I mean, I think I've said that before, but you know, like I started when I was 13, and before I even started like with the team that I was at, there was already so many people that started before. Like back in Brazil, we don't have as much support as we have over here. You know, it's just such different like atmosphere. The investment here, like we would have to hustle to like travel to other places because we didn't have the same team amount of teams that we had over here, you know? We would have to figure out the money, we would have to figure out our uniforms. So like I feel like me being able to be here is just like really I feel really happy to show that all those other girls that are back in Brazil can do that too, you
That's
know?
right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's just so awesome. And it's been so much fun to watch a healthy Deb Dos Santos do her thing. So stay healthy, keep being that leader that you are, be a beast on the floor, bring the joy, the excitement, the edge, and keep doing what you're doing, young lady. Oh, that was fun. That was fun. All right, Deb, you're clear to go. In fact, we're going to take a quick break and we're going to bring this train to the station in just a few moments. Welcome back to Points in the Paint. I'm Ann Schatz, joined by Mary Murphy, the one and only, I should say, Mary Murphy. That was fun with Deb, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think you really get an understanding of why USF has turned the corner and is such a good spot. You know, when you think about how that team is built, the experience that they have, and just really no one in the preseason giving them much credit. You know, picked for sixth, they're healthy, they're really playing well, and just the enthusiasm they have. But again, you know, they're 5 games in. There's 15 more conference games for them to play. This can be like the tide coming in and out all season long to just see who can carry the day. Because again, a week ago, we were talking about Gonzaga at 2-2 and oh, woe is me. And all of a sudden, you know, they are 4-2. And you talk to their coaching staff and they're talking about we're a muscle and we're getting stronger. So you got to be ready for each and every game.
No days off, no nights off. To your point, you better bring it. Let's look at the standings. You mentioned USF atop the WCC at 5-0. I mean, this is their best start since you said in 1995-96 when they went to the Sweet 16. I know we got a long way to go, but I got to think that Molly Goodenbauer, her staff and kids love seeing where they are right now.
Yeah, I think it's, but again, you can't get too high because now everyone's looking at the standings and you're the one they're gunning for. And we talked about this during the course of our broadcast that finishing in that top four, that top two is so important rolling into the WCC tournament in Las Vegas that every single game against, it doesn't matter who, you have got to be ready to play. There can be no let up, especially during your home games, man. You have got to come and you got to bring it.
And you're vying for those high seeds for obvious reasons. You want that 1 or 2, and if you can't get that, you want 3 and 4. And when you look at what's below, who's below USF in terms of the standings, those folks are log jammed, and they are bringing it.
Yeah, I mean, you go St. Mary's, Washington State, Gonzaga, and Portland, and then Oregon State sits at 3 and 2. And
Yep.
Oregon State, a team that has played 4 home games all year long, and they're gonna start getting a lot more home games. So, and then you've got to go into a facility that Gill Coliseum, similar to what happens at the Kennel, like you're gonna be 4th by 1,000 people there, and they're gonna be fired up. So can't wait to see how the weekend goes in Corvallis.
All right, must-see games. You mentioned that game in Corvallis.
Yeah.
So USF on Thursday at Oregon State, that will have a playoff feel.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt, and I think there's gonna be a lot of people there, and it's gonna be a lot of fun, and Oregon State's gonna be looking to bounce back after the loss to Washington State, and they've gotta get their offense going, but clearly now they've gotta find a way to slow down USF as well, because they're scoring close to 80 points a game in conference play.
Wazoo on the road at St. Mary's on Thursday. I will be scoreboard watching this one.
Yeah, when you look at St. Mary's as they sit in 4 and 1, this is a huge weekend for them because they've got 2 home games. They start with Washington State and then they've got UOP. So again, you want to hold court at home. They've got a great facility. They get solid crowd, and you want to go in there and just play well. And we spoke with Kennedy last week. We know how fired up they are, and they're sitting in great position at 4 and 1, but that thing can improve, or it can, the teeter-totter that is the WCC this year is for real. It's be interesting when we get together a week from now to see where we're at.
Well, yeah, and you have those big games on Thursday. You take a breath, but then Saturday's coming. So when we look at some of those Saturday games, Gonzaga at Washington State, USF at Portland, Pacific at St. Mary's, my goodness.
I just want to throw out one more Thursday game. So San Diego is going to be at LMU, and we know that one of those, they're both sitting at 0 and 5. One of those teams is going to get a win. And the heartbreak for LMU, a game they look like they were in a position to possibly go into overtime and win. They end up losing by 3 on that end of game play by Kennedy Schuler. So, one of these 2 teams is going to come out and finally get a win, and that's going to help take some pressure off. But that Saturday game, Gonzaga at Oregon State, it's a high noon shootout, man. That thing is gonna be something to watch.
So let me back you up. Gonzaga at Washington State,
Excuse
correct?
me, at Washington State.
Yeah. So that you're gonna have a bunch of kennel-loving Gonzaga folks coming to Beasley, that's for sure. Those folks at Beasley are gonna take umbrage with that, and it's gonna be on at
Yeah,
Beasley.
it's gonna be a lot of fun. And then USF at Portland, Pacific at St. Mary's, I mean, on and on. And my big question is, will the points in the paint jinx continues? With the first 2 weeks, our guests have teams have lost. What's gonna happen to Deb in USF this week? We'll find out.
What'd you like about this weekend in terms of the totality of the WCC? I'm stealing that question from you. What'd you like?
I am completely enamored with how competitive it is, and I'm just fired up to see every game to see what happens. But more than anything, I'm looking forward to jury duty tomorrow and carrying out my civic duty. So I'm looking forward to kind of leaving this and moving on and then come back.
You crack me up. Civic duty. All right, only you, Mary Murphy. I'm going to throw out. You mentioned U of P. I think Pacific is poised. Now that's the Ann Schatz jinx. Me just saying Pacific. I think you're ready, but I think Pacific's ready to make a little run. That's my prediction.
You talked about that over the course of the weekend when we were hanging out, so we're gonna find out.
Man, all right. May the jinx end. May the jinx end, Mary Murphy. May your civic duty run be all that you could ever want it to be. Shoulder square, head held high, represent you and me when you're being a juror, will you?
We'll try.
All right, everybody. Points in the Paint is going to say, see you later. Till next week. Of course, we're coming back at you every single week through the regular season and beyond. Thanks for joining us. And Mary saying so long. And oh, this has been fun.